All right, I think we're going. Welcome, everybody, to week 7 of World War II Heroes in Literature. We're going to finish up The Light in Hidden Places today. We're going to have a Kahoot today. And so it will be sort of a closing the book on the book that we just read. It's a fascinating story. I think a few of you made comments about how just seeing Stefania speak sort of made it a little bit more real. And this was a true story. This actually did happen. All of the crazy stuff that we're reading about, it wasn't made up, it wasn't fictionalized, it wasn't um, something that someone was embellishing. This is the story. It's been exciting to read and talk about this story with you. I'm excited to talk about it again today. And we'll just continue. I'm going to share my screen. Um, Share sound because we're gonna have a Kahoot later. And voila, I think. Is my screen sharing? Thumbs up from a few of you. Excellent. All right, here we go. Let's see. So I'll explain just a second, Kahoot. So today's agenda, we have gotten through the introductions. I think everyone who is here today has introduced themselves as I've been watching people uh, join. So we're not going to have any introductions today. We'll talk about a few of our favorite things. And then when we get to the end of class, we're going to do a Kahoot. And so for those of you who don't know what Kahoot is, you might need a second device, but it is sort of a trivia game and it is on a timer. And I can talk a little bit more about it when we get there and when we're opening it. So, what you'll do on your device, you'll have a second device, and I will give you a link to go to. And then once you're at that link, I will give you a PIN number. So, you'll go to this link, you'll type in the PIN number, and then you'll join sort of a game server with the whole class. And then once the Kahoot opens up, once we start it, you'll have a question. And the question, you'll read it. They give you like 3 seconds to read the question, and then they start timing how long it takes you to answer it. If you answer it correctly and very fast, you get more points. If you answer it correctly and you get it and it's slower, maybe you take 1 second to answer it versus 5 seconds to answer it. The person who answers it in 1 second gets more points than the person who answers it correctly 5 seconds later. They're rewarding someone who can think of the answer and find the answer faster. If you get it wrong, I don't know if they subtract points. I think you might just not get points added to your score. And so there will be 16 or 17 questions. And at the end, we see who is the Kahoot winner of the day. Sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's skill. Most of the time, it's a combination of both. Every now and then, I throw in sort of a trick question to see if you're really reading it fast and trying to be super fast without analyzing all of them. Um, and so anyway, I have written the questions. They're all multiple. It's 16 multiple choice. There's 4 answers each. Some might have 3 answers and then all of the above, or 3 answers and none of the above. But there's only one correct, the most correct answer. So there's not anything where you'll select two. So for if you haven't done Kahoot, once we get to that portion, we'll help sort of guide you how to get to the link. Once you're at the link, type in the pin, join the game, and then from there on, I think everything is pretty self-explanatory. I think if you've played games before, like multiple choice Jeopardy kind of games, then it will be second nature to you. So that's what Kahoot is, and it's going to be questions that cover um, the Hitler Youth book that we read and the Light and Hidden Places book. Some questions will be super easy. Some might be a little bit more difficult. And I think most of them are probably more on the easier side this time around. I didn't go too deep into the weeds or the nuances of the story, but that's what it'll be. Next week, we start reading a book called The Boy on the Wooden Box, who is a young teenage boy who is Jewish and he's growing up in Poland. and he lives through a lot of the stuff that we learned as we were reading about the Diamants, except we get it from a different perspective. And this is a boy who's in the ghetto, who's living it, who goes to a work camp, and ultimately finds himself on Schindler's List. So Oskar Schindler was a Nazi, or at least he was not friendly with the Nazis, and he owned a factory. Oh, sorry. Let's see. I apologize. There were five or six of you in the waiting room, probably for a while. I had my participants list scrolled down to the bottom, and so I didn't see that people were trying to join. I apologize. Um,
You're fine. At least for me, I just got in.
okay, excellent. Hopefully that's the case for the others too. So I was just describing the book that we're going to be reading starting next week, and it will just be a 2 week book. It's pretty short. I debated on reading the whole thing in 1 week, but I decided to split it up and we'll do more supplemental content because there's a lot of supplemental content about around this story. But the boy on the wooden box is, as I was saying, he is Jewish. He was forced into a ghetto, went to a labor camp, and miraculously was able to get out of the labor camp, found himself on Schindler's List. Oskar Schindler was a Nazi, or at least friendly with the Nazis, and he owned a factory that made enamelware, so cookware. And he was able to position himself so that the Germans were buying a lot of stuff from him. And because he was supporting the war effort, the Nazis let him continue doing his factory things. Um, and he was able to convince the Nazis that specific people were experts on the machines and that he needed those specific people to be running the machines so that his machines could operate, so that he could give the German army the best cookware possible. Um, and so he creates this list of specialists that he needs to keep. And Leon Layson, um, his name in the is he changed his name to Leon. I think it was Leib, Lieb, when he was younger. He's on the list, and he has to stand on a wooden box to operate his machine. Um, and somehow they're able to convince the Nazis that he is an expert, even though he has to stand on this wooden box to operate the machine. It's a really cool story. It is a little bit heavier as far as some of the content and the topics because he's experiencing it first person. I think with Stefania, we were seeing her view of what was going on inside, but her view was often just a little bit here, a little bit there, kind of hearing things from Max and the Diamants. But with this book, there's a little bit more first person what he's actually experiencing as a teenager in the work camp. So it is a little bit heavier. It is a book that I think is really important to understand as far as what the Jews were put through. I think it helps me gain a greater appreciation for the freedom that I have, for the country that we live in, or I guess I don't live there, but I am a citizen of, and it just helped me understand the importance of World War II. We'll get into some of the war books later on in the year, and this is why we're fighting to try and stop these injustices from happening. And I think it just gives a different perspective on what was happening in the whole Holocaust, what was going on. So it is a fascinating book. It has a happy ending, um, but it is a little bit heavier content. And so I encourage you as you read through it, discuss the book with your family. Tell them what you're reading. Talk about it with your parents. Um, and I think that it's important to have some of these discussions with people around us so that we don't have to carry some of these heavier things in our minds. I think talking about it and coming to class and talking about it helps us work through our thoughts on those things. But the book's great. Supplemental content is to be determined. I'm trying to find some stuff about Schindler, and so I want to find something that is appropriate and interesting, And so we'll learn a little bit more about Schindler's List and some of the things that were happening at the time. So that's what we're going to be reading for next week. Fascinating book, very interesting story. I think it's even more interesting that he's the same age as a lot of you when all of this was going on. So I think it would be easy for you to put yourself in his shoes and sort of live the story through his eyes. Reminder, I have office hours on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Mountain. Come and ask questions. If you have anything that you're working on, any things that you want to discuss, talk about, learn more about, um, it's all good. Just go ahead and stop by. I'll be here. All right. I don't have a specific discussion topic that I want to start out with first, and so we'll just jump into a few of my favorite things. First off, I want to shout out to Amy. That loaf of bread looks amazing. Amy, if you're here, tell us how was the experience cooking it? Was it something that you have done before? And then I guess you can tell us how amazing it tasted because I think it looks pretty incredible if you're there.
It was really fun to make, and I needed it and stuff.
Cool.
And then we made two loaves, and we gave away the other one. And then it tasted really cool because we put butter and such on it.
Nice. Did you do the braid?
Yeah.
No, you didn't. That I've always wondered how people do that. When I lived in Switzerland, they have a traditional braided bread just like this, and the texture is awesome. Like to just like pull it apart and oh, it just so good. But I've always wondered how the braid is. So I guess if you weren't the braider, then you won't be able to tell us if it was hard or easy or not. But oh, that's awesome. And good job. So part of the thing that with a few of my favorite things, one of the purposes of that is to do things that help you feel the story or to connect with the story, something that might be your favorite quote. And that's what we get a lot of. Sometimes it's an emotion of, oh, this made me mad, or this guy was so annoying, I can't believe he did that, or and so some of the things that we're feeling. And I think it's really cool when we can connect with stories like this. Like Amy was saying, this week my mom and I tried making challah bread after I read a chapter about the week where everyone was able to come down and have a celebration for Christmas and Hanukkah. It's fun to try a real food that they would have been eating. I think those kind of things are really cool and a really neat way, I think, to connect with what's happening in the story. So good job, Amy. And to the rest of you, I encourage you to do similar things. Look for ways to connect to the story, to connect to the characters. And I will try and find some of those things and maybe suggest them in the future too. But I think that was an awesome idea. Good job. Um, Also, a shout out to, I have to say, if you guys have noticed in all of the comments, people who are leaving, Lincoln has been, giving thumbs up, giving hearts and things like that, clapping. Good. I just wanted to recognize Lincoln for being such a good supporter and cheering everybody on with their thoughts and their comments and things. I think having an atmosphere where we feel comfortable and safe and able to express what we're thinking and feeling, I think giving that positive feedback helps us feel more comfortable to kind of share our feelings. So good job with that. And I mean, other people have been doing it too. I just have noticed that Lincoln has consistently been doing that. So thank you, Lincoln, for doing that, helping us all feel a little better about what we're doing, what we're saying, and what we're typing. That's awesome. All
Yeah.
right.
And I'm planning on drawing something, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So, um, that'll be posted eventually.
Cool. Yeah, that will be awesome. Really, really cool to do. I love it when you are able to share your talents with us. So encourage that from all of you. If you any poem writers or anything like that, those are fun things too. And please share with us when you do those things. But with those things said, what stood out to you guys? We can talk about the whole book. It doesn't just have to be the last chapters. Maybe who is your favorite character and why? What was sort of the most surprising thing? What was the happiest thing? What what did you like? What didn't you like about the story? All of it. We can go as wherever we want within the confines of the light and hidden places today. What did you think? Yeah, Harrison, go ahead.
So I was just thinking about like how much the war affected them. Like her life was changed so much just by living through those 6 or 7 years. And I know sometimes that doesn't seem like a super big portion of our life almost, but like her whole life was affected by that. And it's just cool that um because she stayed faithful through that, she was able to have a really good life and still find joy in it. Um, and I was kind of like, you know, that part where they like just finished the war and all the Jews that like they're like just all leaving and stuff. I was kind of like shocked how ungrateful some of them were. Like, and it was like, it kind of made me sad to like think that they just kind of left, like they were just done with it. Uh, but I also understand how they would like uh, just need to get away. Uh, I would like to think that I would have been more grateful than that. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I that actually I that stood out to me as well, and interesting that you caught it. I think it's so important to show our gratitude. I think that for the rest of their life they did. I think in that moment, I think there was just a lot of relief, and I imagine there was a lot of gratitude that was passed along throughout the whole experience too. But I know that after they left, um, they did stay in touch, and I think that they were still good friends for the rest of their lives. And so I imagine that there was a lot of gratitude that was shared throughout the rest of their lives. But I thought that was interesting too. Like it's over. All right, see you guys. And that was kind of it. Yeah, good point. Thanks for bringing that up. Lincoln, go ahead.
So this weekend, I've been talking with my dad in the car because he had taken all of us kids to just go on errands, like get shoes and go to the girls' swim lesson and stuff. So I've been talking to him about our book, and I was saying about how like I was surprised when they were so happy the Russians were coming, because though the Nazis were bad, the Russians and the Soviets in the long run wouldn't have been any better. Um, when it comes to treating the Jews because they did a lot of those same things to different sects too. So I'm like, huh, part of me is surprised you were so happy. I mean, the other part of me is like, yeah, that makes sense. The other part of me is like, no, you shouldn't be happy like that.
Yeah, I think they may have been basing that on the difference between when the Russians were sort of over Przemysh at the beginning and how things were versus how as soon as the Germans took over, everything got a lot worse. And so maybe they were just hoping that it would go back to the good, better. I mean, it still wasn't fantastic, right? But better than it was, and not having to be so hidden and so concerned all the time. Yeah, that's a great point. The Russians were not super kind. What the Allied forces, I think, would have been the most ideal for them, right? Um, but the Russians also had their issues and their poor treatment of the Jewish people too. Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I have not even thought of that. That's good. Finn, go ahead.
I thought it was cool how throughout the whole thing, like her belief in God never wavered. Like there were multiple times that she was like angry at him because he was letting like the Gestapo like almost uncover him, but she never started to believe that there wasn't a God, which I think is cool because I mean they were literally going through one of the worst times that any human being can go through, and she never believed that like God wouldn't let this happen or anything.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you think her faith helped her in certain circumstances get through things? Or do you think her faith helped her? And then if so, how?
I think it did, and um, I think it was just like God was helping her, but it took a little while for it to get to the point where she could actually see the blessings. Like there are multiple times where so many other things could have gone wrong, and um, there was the one circumstance that could have gone right was what happened, and yeah, I do think God was helping her throughout the whole thing. I just don't think she could see it that easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there were a few circumstances where I think she saw exactly how he was helping. I think just to add on, I think that her faith absolutely lifted her up, and gave her confidence in her feelings when she was feeling like, do I leave? They're coming for me. If I'm still here with Helena, they're going to kill me. When they were wanting to rent her or give her house to the nurses, and they wanted both rooms. They wanted her out, and they were coming back, and they were going to kill her if she was still there. And she just had this peaceful feeling. They only need one room. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stand my ground. They only need one room. And they came back, and turns out they only needed one room. I think there was a lot of help that she was receiving from God that was hidden. But then I think there are other times where it was like flashing lights. No, stay. You don't need to leave. Um, just I think our faith can act the same way, right? There's so many things that happen each day, from our day-to-day things where we're being guided and led, and we have these small little thoughts or promptings that we're following. And then occasionally we'll have these big, huge moments where we feel like we're receiving a revelation, or where God might be telling us specific things to do. I think it's important for us, whether it's small, whether it's big, to listen to Him and follow Him, follow His guidings, follow His promptings, and hear His voice. I think that her faith, in my opinion, really helped her so that she could discern those things, and follow the Holy Ghost, and listen to the guidance she was receiving. Which, thanks for bringing that up. I think that's such an important part of her story, and what helped her get through it all. Good job. Carson, go ahead.
Um, I liked I liked the entire book, honestly, but uh I thought it was cool how none of the like a lot of the SS officers had they had the chance to arrest her. They could just arrest her, take her to the Gestapo, and then she's done for. But she was just saved so many times. Like either the officers let her go or they hit him with the coal. It's just like how often is it that someone would escape from a like SS officer that much? It's the only one that I've heard of. There might be more, but I don't know.
Yeah, pretty remarkable, right? Uh, I I think that's such a cool part of the story too. And that's what I part of what made the book a page turner for me, is that it just she gets into a situation, and then how is she going to get out? And I just want to find out. But as soon as that's resolved, then there's another something that comes up. Just time and time again, she's just finding a way out, maybe receiving help from angels around her to get her out of places, to give her things. Just super cool. I agree.
For some reason, I'll be reading a chapter and then something will happen at the very end, and I'll start reading so freaking fast. We'll just go through the pages.
No, no, no.
I I bet a lot of us experience the same thing. That's that's one hard thing about trying to pace this book so that we can get through certain periods in certain weeks so that it's not overwhelming for homework and it fits within the 4 hour window. But I mean, sometimes the books can just keep going and going and going. It's hard to put them down. That's usually a good sign, though. I'm glad that you liked it enough for that. Justice, go ahead.
Um, I was looking into when, like just a couple minutes before class, but I looked up when Stefania died, and I'm pretty sure it was in 2018. So that's one thing that I saw was really interesting. How all the way back then she was hiding Jews, and I was 6 when she died. How I don't know. It's just kind of an interesting thing that I found. So and I keep thinking, when they were beating Helena, um, how much I would have gone down there and beaten them if they were beating my sister and my brother. I would have gone down there if there was not somebody holding me back. And when I was listening to it, because audiobook, I kept thinking, how does this end up working out? Because I know that they live, but I'm like, how does this end up working out? It just doesn't make any sense how it should work out. Just, it's insane. But yeah, those are some things that I thought.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Knowing that, so I knew that she would marry Max before the story started. And so I just kept, as I read through the book, how is this going to happen? How is this going to work out for them like that? And I agree with you. When Helena was being beat up by the guard, that was so heartbreaking for me. Like emotionally heartbreaking listening to it, putting myself in Stefania's shoes. That I don't know how Max even had the capacity to kind of be situationally aware to prevent her from going back down. I mean, I would have thought that Max would be the one wanting to go down the stairs, right? Um, but just the situational awareness, hoping that everything worked out, it was heartbreaking. And poor Helena, I mean, she is sort of the unsung hero through all of this. It just seems like whenever she was sort of like sometimes things would break down for Fuchsia and Helena was there to kind of save the day secretly or quietly or just she would do one little subtle thing that would be like just the right thing. And so she's the perfect Robin to Stefania's Batman, I think. Just being there, being her sidekick, being her backup. But that was such a heartbreaking part of the story when that was happening. And wow, for someone that age to be able to hold the secret and to not say where she was or to not give the information that they're asking. That I don't know how. I don't know how she could do that. It's really remarkable. I think someone even said that Helena is their new hero and they want to be like her when they grow up. Me too. I want to be like that little 8 or 9 year old girl when I grow up. She was so courageous and such an inspiring story. All right, 2 more comments and then we'll move to our Kahoot. Owen, go ahead.
I really liked the part with the German soldier pointing out those, like helping her avoid those soldiers, and just goes to show you that like not just because someone's in an organization doesn't mean they're evil.
Such a great point. Yeah, I mean they were people too, right? Not all of them were the bad guys. I think that's such a cool part of the story because so many things could have gone wrong. Had she gone down the wrong road, and she probably would have, right? He was directing her to get out of that part of the city safely to avoid the guards. And I mean, she had already run into the situation once and had seen what happened. She was able to get away. But yeah, I think that was cool too. And from an SS guy, those guys were usually pretty deep into the Nazi idealism. And so to have someone looking out for her in that position is pretty remarkable. That's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding us of that part. That was a great part of the story. Excellent. All right, Lincoln, go ahead.
Well, my comment kind of goes along with Owen's. But it's from I think last week's chapters when the Judenrot lets her go after they already knew she was planning on hiding Jews. Because like I've read a few books where they've had where it's been situated in a ghetto. And I've never thought terribly highly of the Judenrot, even because, they're like I've always thought where it's kind of like they're betraying their own people, but when they mentioned how they're doing what they can in the position they are in, I that helped me see that again, not everyone is bad where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Not everybody. And so thankfully that there are those people in this story that helped our heroine get out of trouble or to not put her in more danger or more trouble. So grateful for those people. And I mean, we're reading one story about one person who is absolutely remarkable. I know that there were a lot of other people doing very similar things, other helpers that were doing similar things that we aren't reading about, and so many people that unfortunately didn't have someone that they could turn to like this. This whole part of World War II is so heartbreaking and sad that humans could do this to others. But I think, as we learn about these heartbreaking stories, these tragedies, these hard things that are kind of difficult to carry and understand, um, I like to focus on people like Stefania who were this light in a hidden place, right? This light that was out in the darkness that was sort of a lighthouse for us to kind of rethink and recheck and ask ourselves, who are we? What are we doing? What are we doing to help make the world a better place around us? How are we helping those in our community, in our family, in our church? What are we doing to make the world a better place? And I think it's so inspiring to look at her example and apply it to us and use her example to improve ourselves and be better ourselves. I think that's one of the best things that we can do from reading stories like this and being inspired by them is to do something about it, to go out and try a little harder, to be a little better, to be a little nicer, to be kinder, to help the people around us. I hope that we can take what we've learned from her story, that we can use it to make our lives better and other people's lives better. So let's do that. All right, I'm going to move over my screen here, I think, if it works out. So I'm going to push start here. It's going to take us. So what you'll need to do on your device is you go to www.kahoot.it. That's the web address. And once you go to www.kahoot.it, you'll then type in this game pin, 630653. When you're joining, it will ask you for your name. Please use your real name, not a nickname. So if you can change it, so that we know who is who, like Tozy27, if you could change it to your name, perfect. I'm assuming Tozy changed their name because I don't know who it was and who it is now. But so keep your name so that we know who is who. And then it's kahoot.it. Looks like people are finding their way there. Is anyone having difficulty? If some of you have a sibling that sits off screen, and wants to participate, they're more than welcome to either help you or they can get a device and join also if they want. I have a limit of 40 people that can play the game, and there are 37 of you in the class. So if everyone joins, we have seats for 3 more. Justice, go ahead.
I I'm pretty sure it's okay because I have it tabbed out on another web. I have a Zoom on the web browser, and then I have another tab open for it.
Okay, that should work. Yeah. You'll still be able to hear me on the Zoom, even though you're looking at Kahoot on a different tab, I think. That might be the only drawback, is if it's only playing audio from one tab at a time. I'm not sure.
It's working.
Okay,
Yeah, I've got the same thing. We're good.
cool. All right, we've got 35 in the game. Is there anyone trying to join who has not yet joined? Speak now or forever. Okay, Jocelyn, let's help you get on. Where are you at? Let's see. So you go to the kahoot.it, and then once you're there, the game pin 630653.
Yeah, I'm Sil.
Okay. Excellent. Are we all here? If we are, so again, it will be multiple choice. There's 16 questions. The faster you answer it correctly, the more points you'll get. But if you are answering it slower, you'll still get points for having the right answer, which is still beneficial. So be careful in reading the questions. Some of them are easy, some of them are difficult. Some of them might be a little tricky. You might have to read all of the answers before you guess. All right, I'm going to count down. Anybody else speak now? Join now. We're going to start. 3, 2, oh, let me unmute it. Okay, we got to have the game show. Here we go. Kahoot. The first Kahoot of the year, Hitler Youth, Light in Hidden Places. What were the names of Helmut Hubner's 2 friends? Excellent. 24 of you got it. It was Carl and Rudy. Sophie and Hans was the close one. Those were the Scholls. They lived in the other part of Germany. They were siblings and they were part of a different group. There might be a question about them, so I'm not going to talk a whole lot more about them. But it was Rudy and Carl. They were friends from church. They're all in the same youth group. Probably a deacon's quorum. All right. Oliver is on top. Ooh, this is close. The top 5, I imagine the top 10 are really close. Let's see how it goes. What happened that allowed Hitler to severely limit rights of Germans? Is the Reichstag fire. If you remember, there was the Reichstag is sort of like their Congress building, their Capitol building, and there was a fire inside. Hitler blamed a communist, someone from the Communist Party, as being the starter, and historians are not sure if it was a communist or if it was someone within the Nazi Party that was framing a communist. Either way, he used that opportunity to say, we've got to stop the communists. I'm going to start monitoring telephone calls. I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to take away the radio. I'm going to do. So he started limiting all of the information that they could have, and they started monitoring people as a follow-up for that Reichstag fire. The invasion of Poland happened after that. Ooh, Brock, the McNabs. All right. How were Hans and Sophie Scholl caught? A janitor, good. Yeah, they were distributing leaflets at the University of Munich, and as class was starting to get out, they were putting leaflets up, and then class was starting to get out, and they sort of panicked, and then I think Sophie sort of threw them into the air on like the sixth floor, and so they started like traveling down, and the janitor looked up, saw them, identified them, they were caught. So the janitor saw them. And then the janitor was a hero. They had like sort of a celebration, and they honored him for his loyalty in turning Hans and Sophie in. All right. A little bit of movement. Which of the following subjects were added to German school curriculum? 'Race science. Yeah, I started talking about race. So they were teaching racism, which is totally not good. All right, next. Lily must have gotten that one fast to make that jump. Well done. What was the main purpose of the Hitler Youth? 100% to train young people to be loyal Nazis. Exactly. I think that this might be the first question in all of the Kahoots in all of my classes that we've gotten 100% correct. Well done. Maybe that's too easy. Good job. Oh man, it's close. What role did the League of German Girls, or the BDM, focus on? Yes, preparing girls to be wives and mothers, which is not a bad thing. I think that was something that they may have gotten right, I think. All right. Next, what happened to teenagers who resisted joining the Hitler Youth? Yeah, they were punished or harassed. They weren't shipped to America, although maybe some of them wished they would have been. They weren't given free schooling. They weren't ignored. They were punished or harassed. And they would even point. I think everyone knew. All the other students knew who was part of it and who wasn't. And it became.
They definitely didn't get free schooling.
Yeah, they didn't. No. No. Hey, you're not going to join? All right, scholarship for you. What is the main character? Who is the main character of A Light in Hidden Places? Good job. Maybe the person who selected Helena wants to debate that. Maybe the story really was about her. I wouldn't disagree. But the correct answer is Stefania. All right, Lily increases early. How old was Fuchsia when she began hiding people? "16 or 17, correct. She was just a young teenager. young for me, your age. Pretty awesome stuff that she's doing that. How many Jewish people did Fuchsia and Helena hide in their attic at one time? All right, good job. It's 13. There were times where she had 3, a time where she had 6, a time where she had 11, and then finally the most was 13 at one time. So the most correct answer here is 13, although there were points in time where she had 3, 6, 11, and then 13. Oh man, it's getting close, or it has been close still. Why did many German parents initially support their children joining the Hitler Youth? Yeah, they offered discipline, opportunity, national pride. If you remember, when the Hitler Youth started, it seemed like a perfect thing, right? They were learning obedience, they were learning discipline, they were learning how to work, they were learning how to do all sorts of cool things, and so it looked great. And it wasn't until they were in and then started sort of sliding down that slippery slope that things started to go bad for them and started to yeah, just slowly get worse. And at that time when we were talking about it in the book, remember, we were talking about how it's like putting lobsters in boiling water or putting them in water and then heating it up. In this case, it started out with them just in water that felt comfortable and fine. And before they knew it, they were in there and they were stuck. But it did start out offering discipline, opportunity, and national pride. And I guess they probably even finished having discipline, opportunity, and national pride. It just went in the wrong direction, and it was no longer positive and helping people. It was doing the opposite. Oh boy. All right. Why is it especially dangerous that German soldiers rented rooms in Fuchsia's house? Sorry, it wasn't soldiers. I guess maybe the nurses. Yeah, they lived beneath the Jews hiding in the attic, which would have been so terrifying. Any noise. And I can't imagine how many times she had to play off a noise as just being the rats or being this or that. It's no wonder that the nurses were a little suspicious, especially in the beginning before they got used to it all. All right, 5 more, I think. How did Helena get rid of the paper Max gave her? Well, that was quick. She ate it. Yes. There was no fire. She didn't rip it up. She didn't throw it in a well. She put it in her mouth, chewed it up, ate it. So they couldn't find out the information that could have been devastating. I mean, this is one of those moments, right, where how are they going to get out of this? And you find out that she put it in her mouth and ate it. So they aren't going to know her address, her name, where they're going, the people she's going to hide. Incredible thinking, really quick thinking. How much did Fuchsia give to the German to move up to the top of the job list? Yeah, the 340s lot. I thought I put a kiss on the cheek because I thought it was so curious, it was interesting to me that so many times in the story, some of the German officers just wanted a kiss on the cheek, like kind of weird. So I threw that on there. as something that might throw you off. But yes, 340. And it moved her, we don't know, to the top of the list, but eventually she did get a job. And so maybe that was one of the deciding factors. Who knows? It was something that she regretted doing for a long time when she ran out of money. But then as soon as she got the job, I think she's pretty happy about it. Oh man. Let's see. 8 points between Lily and Oliver. It's going to be close. Which of these men did not want to marry Fuchsia? Yeah, Wilhelm Schillinger, he was the doctor that was in the attic. I don't think he wanted to marry her. The other three did and expressed their, well, one of them did marry her. I hope he wanted to. The other two, one with Ija, it was a plan. He died. Lubeck, he was in love, but it was not, she was not in love with him. Maybe in a different life could have been, but under those circumstances, nope. All right, that's that. Uh-oh. Oliver's at the top. Let's see. We've got, I think, 2 or 3 questions left. 2 left. What organization did Hans and Sophie Scholl belong to? The White Rose Society. Good job. The Rose Garden is not correct. League of German Girls was part of the Hitler Youth. And then the Edelweiss Pirates were a different group that were also doing things like the White Rose Society was. Okay. Last question. What street did Fuchsia live on? Tatarska Street. She was on Tatarska Street, and they were able to see their courtyard, watch down the road to see people that were coming and going. And then they were right across the street from the hospital there on Tatarska Street. I didn't know any other street names in Chemish, and so I just had to come up with these other 3. So maybe they were in the neighborhood. Maybe they don't even exist. I'm not sure, but it was Tatarska Street.
They sound Polish.
Yeah, they do. Google helped with that one. All right, Lincoln number 3, Lily number 2, and Oliver, this week's champion. Easton was close, McNabbs, excellent. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing there. Oh, my computer's moving slow. All right. All right, excellent. Good job, Oliver. Well done. You have bragging rights in the class now till we do our next Kahoot, probably in 3 or 4 weeks. So good job. Good work, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for your participation in class. Thanks, as always, for posting such well-thought messages, thoughts, impressions, ideas, insights on the Mighty Networks application. Keep that up. I'll post the homework for next week later today, but it's going to be starting to read the Boy on the Wooden Box. And then next week we have class. The following week we will not have class. So we have the fall break coming up in October, the 2nd week of October. So next week there is class. Following week there will not be. And so with that, thank you for all that you're doing. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.